Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. Today I want to talk about this book, You Can't Touch My Hair, and Other Things I Still Have to Explain by Phoebe Robinson. Phoebe Robinson is a comedian, and I first became aware of her work through the podcast Two Dope Queens that she did with Jessica Williams, another Black female comedian. And I forget how I heard about Two Dope Queens, but it was being produced from 2016 to 2018, if I remember correctly. And I listened to most of it during that time and just thought it was hilarious. These two women are really, really funny. So I picked up this book several years ago. It was sort of an impulse buy. I saw it in a bookstore and bought it because I had heard of Phoebe Robinson and I knew I already liked her humor. And the book did not disappoint. I absolutely loved this. So it's less of a memoir than a lot of the other books by comedians I've read. I guess mainly Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. I think I read both of their books, which were a little more memoir-y, I want to say. Whereas this is really just a collection of essays, and bits of her life do come through. These are essays told from Phoebe Robinson's direct experience as a woman, as a Black woman, as a comedian. She talks quite a bit in here about her early career of starting to do stand-up comedy, and then slowly making it bigger and bigger, getting her book deal, some of her early classes when she was in college and was getting into creative writing and then comedy. So you do get pieces of the memoir through here, through the book, but it's structured around essays that are about race and gender in the United States, mostly in the early 2000s as she's experiencing it. One of the early essays in the book, though, is actually a little bit of a historical lesson because it's talking about Black hair through several decades of the 20th century and the increasing freedom that Black folks, especially women, start to have around their hair as we get towards the 21st century and get into the 21st century, where instead of something that is exclusively controlled and judged and looked down on from a society where white people have all the power, it becomes more and more self-expression and freedom, and women like Phoebe Robinson are empowered to wear their hair however they like. So that's quite a strong theme through some of the early essays in this book. Partly because it weighed pretty heavily in Phoebe Robinson's life, growing up as a young Black woman. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, she kind of gives us snapshots of Black celebrities showing the evolution moving away from that need to have hair be straight and be controlled and be something that white people would find acceptable, to being something that could be self-expression, could just be the natural way your hair grows without having to worry about it. Um, and then most of the rest of the essays are I think just Phoebe Robinson's thoughts on issues, right? And so she has an essay about how she would do casting calls. So like things to not put in casting calls when you're trying to cast for a person of color. She has an essay that's a list of demands for a future female president, which we will eventually get. So things like that. And she ends with a really quite poignant but still hilarious section that is letters to her niece, about what she kind of hopes and expects for her niece growing up, which was a lovely way, I thought, to end this book. And throughout, she's just hilarious. I think it probably helps that I'm the same generation, so I think you might have to be a millennial to really get the pop culture references, because it's all the things that were popular in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And she really goes heavy with the pop culture, which often I don't like because I often don't get the references. But this was one example of a book where I grew up watching a lot of the same TV shows and experiencing some of the same like viral moments in pop culture in the early 2000s. So I found this to be absolutely hilarious and really insightful. I mean, she has really smart, observant things to say about race and gender in our society. So I really enjoyed that as well. So I don't normally give this sort of comedy writing 5 stars, but this was definitely a 5-star book for me. It was just an absolutely enjoyable read. I learned some stuff, and I laughed a lot. So I highly recommend this. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.